education here at the museum. Thank you for coming. Nice to see you all. I want to share a few bits of information that we have about upcoming activities and events here at the museum. We are very much in the midst of tour season, almost through. We have a week and a half of tours that are happening here, and then a little break. And then we have almost the same amount of tours this summer of YMCAs and Boys and Girls and Girls Inc., those kinds of things. And so the reason why we've been so successful this year, why we've had so many tour groups, is because we have a fantastic exhibition for them to see when they're coming. And on the table in front of you, some of you can see some summer program lists. A lot of what's in that summer program list is replicated in this Junior Dinosaur Hunter Field Notebook. So these are activities for your neighbor kids, your grandkids, that they can come and do this summer. We really want to maximize the opportunity to see this exhibition and let kids have fun and come and just get involved. But I'm really thrilled to introduce these guys. I have had the best time, some of the best tours of my career, I think, working with this exhibition and getting to share with kids the dinosaur fossils that we have on display. I mean, I think we're all grown-up kids in a way, and we can remember our passion for the past and the joy of exploring and looking for fossils, and the excitement that kids are feeling when they see this exhibition is just fantastic. So we loved it. Thank you so much for the opportunity to have it. And we're very happy today to hear kind of the stories, the personal stories behind these fossils, how the work and the effort that went into finding these. So let me proudly introduce Brian Buckmeier and Darren Maurer. Folks that have very active professional lives here in Sioux City, very involved in the community, and yet they have this hobby, this passion that's driven them for the past 30 years that we're very happy to hear about. So thank you guys. I'm going to hand it over to you. They've each got a mic.
Well, thanks for having us. Can everybody hear me on this? Is it working? So we'll try to kind of fly through this a little bit and answer some questions at the end. Shouldn't take more than 3-4 hours. So, as Teresa said, we were both from Sioux City here. I'm an artist, and I own a sign company here in town, and I hunt dinosaur bones for a hobby, and Brian is an attorney and a part-time magistrate judge, and we met each other about 30 years ago, and have the same passion for going out and looking at these dinosaurs, and so we've been doing it for a long time, and we've found a lot of stuff over the years.
Thanks for having us here. We just got back on Sunday about 3 o'clock from a Dino Day, and we try to do about 3 a year for maybe 3-4 days at a time. We go up to northwest South Dakota. We have a number of ranches up there. We primarily hit a couple that seem to be the big payoff ones compared to some of the other ones, but we had a good trip. We found a lot of neat stuff. We always seem to find something when we go up and look. What we're looking for on this, it's a grassland-like area, and if you haven't been through the exhibit, I think we're going to walk you through the exhibit and ask some questions if you have any while we're there, but it shows some pictures in there of this grassland area, and we're looking for badlands that pop up in these grassland areas. And so in those badlands, we're looking for little chunks of bone that are coming out. Maybe it's just a little chunk and that's all it is, or maybe there's something else underneath that we have to dig out. We have found over the past 30 years that the best bones we find are ones that are still buried, primarily. We maybe see a little bit of it, but once they get out into the, are exposed to the elements, they get water in them, they freeze and crack and go into 1,000 pieces. And there are areas out there where we walking by and you'll see just a ton of bone chunks all over the place. We have a triceratops place that the whole big frill shield around the head is just busted up into 1,000 pieces, and you just look at it and kind of shake your head like, oh, I wish I was there when it wasn't busted. But we do have in there a piece of frill. It's kind of cool. You can see some of the veins in it. And just this last trip, Darren found a nice piece of that frill, and we have some still in our houses. I think the funniest thing, when we were putting this together in here for the past, it was about 4 or 5 months beforehand, or maybe longer, we brought our stuff down here in, I think it was the end of November, most of it. It was about 10, 11 trips, because you had to be real careful that you didn't break anything on the way down. And his wife, towards the end of December, said, so when are you going to bring your stuff down here to the museum? And he goes, well, already done that.
She said, you've got a serious problem. So, I admit it though. So where we go is northwest South Dakota, sometimes parts into Wyoming and Montana, primarily that area of the United States is where we're finding these dinosaur bones. And there's a formation in that area, which is a geologic formation, and they give all these formations different names to scientists to keep track of them. And the one that we're hunting in is called Hell Creek, and it was named after an actual creek in Montana called Hell Creek, where they found these dinosaur bones in the early 1900s. And so the dinosaurs that we find are Dinosaurs, or nicknamed duck-billed dinosaur, Triceratops, that's the 3-horned dinosaur with the 2 big brow horns and the nose horn, T-Rex, there's Ankylosaurus, and then there's some other dinosaurs, the Pachycephalosaurs, and Brian actually found a dinosaur. This guy discovered a new species of dinosaur back in 2003. It was in the Pachycephalosaur family called, and he got to help name it. It's named Draco Rex, and there's a copy of the skull on display in there. And there's a sign that kind of tells a story about how Brian found that. But it was a big deal at the time, and it's on the cover of National Geographic, and it was in a lot of other national publications as well. And it's a pretty interesting dinosaur, and there's 3 different Pachycephalosaur skulls in there, and they're all kind of like, how I like to describe it is they're kind of like cousin dinosaurs. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about Draco there.
Sure. Back in 2003, I found this dinosaur, and they always say that you find the best stuff on the last day within the last couple hours, and that's kind of what happened in this case. I decided I wanted to go around and go over an area again. It's a very interesting discovery process. I just love it. It's like looking for lost treasure. You never know what you're going to find, what you're going to dig up, and you really have to focus in on what you're looking for too. I mean, sometimes you have to get right down and kneel down and look for teeth or whatever. And I was with a couple other guys, and they had passed this section probably 2 times each, and I did too. But I walked back by it, and I saw a couple little pieces coming out that looked like dinosaur bone. And I started picking them up, and kind of like following bird seed, it went up to a little mound, and there was this skull flipped upside down and coming out of the matrix, this clay matrix, and you could see the front, probably 12 inches of the upper palate and teeth sticking up. And I knew the teeth were from Pachycephalosaurs, and they're known as the bone-headed dinosaur. They had these big domes up top that they think they used for maybe head-butting, like bighorn sheep and things like that. This did not have the dome on it. We didn't know that at first because it was left in the matrix. There was a couple other guys with me, and I ran and got them and said, hey, I think I found something. They thought I had stepped on a snake or something, a rattlesnake or something like that. Anyway, got it out. It was later donated to the Children's Museum of Indianapolis, and in the process of cleaning it all up and getting it out of the matrix, it became a new species of dinosaur. Didn't have a dome on it, it was a flat-headed packy. Packies are very rare, just like T-Rex. You know, the duck-billed dinosaurs and the Triceratops, you find a lot of those things out there. But the meat eaters, just like today, if you look at the animal population, there's not too many meat eaters out there, maybe 10%, 15% of the animal population. There's a lot of deer out there, a lot of plant eaters, and it was the same way back then. T-Rex, raptors, things like that, and packies. Packies were a plant eater, but they thought they possibly ate small mammals that existed at the time. Other little, even Ankylosaurus, the big armored dinosaur, was a plant eater. So number of plant eaters out there, but these were really rare, really rare. We find packy stuff, and there's some original packy bones and things back there that you can take a look at, some vertebrae in that. But they're very rare. T-Rex stuff is very rare. We got some real T-Rex teeth back there. We have some replica skulls and things because we thought it would be cool for little kids that came here to see a T-Rex skull. So we got a T-Rex skull back there. And we'll take you through that. Darren, we brought a couple things. We didn't know all of our audience, but I brought this bone, so if you want to touch a real dinosaur bone, that's what kids like to do. You can come up and touch. Darren brought this from last year. Got it prepared. This is a prize.
So when Brian talked about that, he thought that he had stepped on a snake or saw a snake, it's because he was freaking out. And so anyway, when I found this, I was also freaking out a little bit. But this is a T-Rex tooth that found a little bit over a year ago. It's about 7 1/4 inches long, which is a big one. Usually on T-Rex teeth, anything over 4 inches is considered to be a big tooth. So this one, what's interesting about this one too is it's got part of the root on it. So from here up is crown, it's got enamel on it. And from there down is part of the root. And they say if you find a T-Rex tooth with root on it, that there could be a skull nearby. Now we have not found a skull, and we actually checked that spot again last Friday. I think we were there and looked at that, or Thursday, I don't remember what day. But we didn't find any more, so who knows? I mean, maybe Mother Nature will wash something out sometime, or maybe they'll stumble across something if we're digging around there somewhere. But when Brian was talking about finding the skull, so after we find something like that, you got to dig it up, right? And how we do that is it's a slow process. We usually start with a knife. I like to dig with a knife, and Brian does too. So we use that to kind of start digging. And you got to dig all of the dirt or matrix off the top of the bone, around it, the sides, and then hopefully a little bit underneath of it, and you leave the fossil sitting on just a little pedestal of soil. That's what you want. And when you get it to that point, and we're gluing that the whole time too with a special glue that we have that's called Paleobond, and it's like a super glue, but it's about the consistency of water. So when you're putting that on the bone, it really soaks down into the cracks a lot and really glues it together. And then when you get it to that point, we put tinfoil on it, and then we'll do a plaster jacket on the bone, and when that plaster dries, you'll flip it over, and hopefully you end up with a bone like this that stays together, and you can transport it. And then when we get back home, we got to work on it, right? Got to clean them up.
Definitely, which is a lot of work. We have blasting cabinets in our basements and garage, and we use a little what's called an air scribe that we blast the. We have a scribe.
It's like a little jackhammer.
A little jackhammer that takes big chunks off, or tougher chunks, and then we have a device that shoots through an air compressor baking powder out at 100 psi, and it just strips all of the dirt and everything off, so you have a nice looking bone when you're done. You got to be a little bit careful when you do it, but
It's essentially a sandblaster that blasts baking soda.
Darren made he found a Montousaurus which is a duck-billed dinosaur. They were kind of one of T-Rex's main buffets in the day. Anyway, we found a big vertebra that's back there, and there's a video with it. It's about a 2-minute video. It's on time lapse, and he set up his time lapse
camera.
Yeah, and we dug it out of the ground. He casted it, took it back to, and blasted it, and cleaned it all up, and it shows that process from finding it in the field all the way through to prepping it. So it's kind of a cool.
It's about I don't know, 6 to 7 minute video, but the whole thing it's probably about 15 or 16 hours of time condensed into like 6 or 7 minutes. Because it's really going. I wish I could dig that fast, but can't. And the video keeps spooling over and over. So if you start watching it in the middle, you might see the cleaning process to the finished process. But when that's over, then it'll start over, and you can. My favorite part of the whole video is the digging it up part. But it's a lot of time condensed down to just a little bit.
Yeah, everything turned out just fantastic in there. Darren did all the signage in there, so when you go through it, take your time to read some of the stuff that he did on the signage. It's really, really nice, fantastic artwork, and we're pretty proud of the exhibit, how it turned out, and it's done really well. Right, Teresa? Brought a lot of people into the museum, a lot of kids, a lot of classrooms. So it's right now it's through, I think, the first couple of days in August, but they're wanting to maybe move it to Labor Day before it goes back on our shelves somewhere. So, but we're really happy with it. We thought we would go in there and walk through, and if people has anybody walked through the exhibit yet?
So if we walk through, we can keep, I don't think these microphones will work in there, but we can talk a little loud anyway, and we'll
Maybe do a few questions here.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
Yes.
This land that you're doing, who owns it? Is it like farmers or whatever?
Well, you can only dig up dinosaurs on private deeded land. So everywhere we dig, we've got permission from the landowner to dig up the bones, and we're super upfront with the landowners on what we find and that type of thing. We've got very, very good relationships with them. But you can't dig up dinosaurs on any like federal or any land, unless you've got permits. You can get permits to do it. But we're lucky enough that all of our land is on private land with permission from the landowner.
And then
They've referred us actually to other ranchers in the area, so that's been nice too. So
do you own then whatever you find?
we do, unless it's something significant. Then that's kind of our deal with the landowners. If it's something we found lower left T-Rex jaw and an upper left T-Rex jaw about 5 years ago, and we told them about it right away, and a nasal bridge coming out, and had 12 teeth in the lower and 9 in the upper, and we had it prepped up, and they wanted to sell it, so we had it prepped up for them, and they sold it. But otherwise, most of the ranchers up there, unless you find some T-Rex stuff, it's like not really on their high list of important items for them. They're more worried about making sure their cows and sheep are doing well every day. So, but yeah, we usually will tell them right away if it's something significant. So, yes.
Do you have any concept of how many people are out doing what you do?
Well, there's commercial places out there too that they go out and they try and find it and sell it. But I would say maybe a couple thousand, not necessarily just there, but all around the United States and well, the world for that matter. There's a show in Tucson, a 2-week rock and mineral and fossil show, first 2 weeks of February every year down in Tucson, and it takes over the whole city. And there's dealers, commercial dealers from all over, Mongolia, Morocco, you name it, and they're bringing in their own fossils, trying to sell them.
The commercial hunters, dinosaur hunters, are not really that favorably looked upon by the paleontology community because I think a lot of the scientific value gets overlooked or not looked at all. So what Brian and I do, we both have jobs, we do all right, you know. So we're not doing this to find stuff to sell it. And anything that you've ever found, like Brian had said earlier, that scientifically significant is ended up in a museum somewhere. But we like doing this, like this exhibit out here, and so people get to see it and learn about it, especially kids, you know. I love coming down here on a Saturday afternoon when that place is full of kids and I get mobbed or Brian gets mobbed by a bunch of kids, you know, that's the best thing for me.
Yes.
Do you think there are dinosaur remains in this area of the world?
I don't, not in Iowa. This area was underwater at the time, so allegedly. So
When we go in there, we've got some stuff too from that was around at that time, but it was like ocean or water dwelling
right.
animals.
Yeah, the museum here has, is it a plesiosaur?
That was found in Stone Park.
In Stone Park, yeah, so the marine animals, if you go out along the bluffs on, is it Highway 12 out there, you can find every so often some marine fossils and things like that. But we were pretty well underwater. There's sharks that were around. There's these big plesiosaurs, like a Loch Ness monster, is how I always think. And they've actually found some over in Maurer State Park. I think they have some vertebrate backbones of a plesiosaur over there. Yes.
Was the water very deep here, the sea?
Here, I would say so, ocean-wise, with sharks and everything, so yeah. How deep, I don't know.
So you don't run into any problems with the, like, South Dakota Archaeology Association taking the bones across state lines or anything?
No, not, you know, if it's a private need land, those ranchers own the bones. Yeah.
Yes.
When you're looking for all this stuff, there's such a thing as fancy electronic equipment, the depth perceptions, or
He was saying, if you're looking at this, is there any type of electronic equipment? There is some ground penetrating radar. One of the Jurassic Park movies, or a couple of them, they show them bringing these, like you're mowing a lawn, they do these pathways back and forth, and then a picture of a whole dinosaur comes out. Well, it's not quite that way. What you get instead
That's not how it works at all.
are these and you might see a little lip in there somewhere, and it's like, okay, that might be a fossil, it might be a rock, whatever. So it really hasn't taken off yet on that. It's a lot of work too, I hear. We've never done any of that.
It basically measures the different densities of soil, and I mean, it might pick up a rock the same way as it picks up a bone. It's not an exact thing, but
They've used some of that. You see some of these shows on the Discovery Channel where they're using one of those, and they see like a void in there. They might think, oh, that might be where some treasure is located or whatever. But yeah, not real accurate as far as pictures of things. So, any other question? Yeah.
I just wondered if the time-lapse film is on YouTube.
it's not on YouTube. But that's not a bad idea. We know a guy that could probably figure that out.
Yeah, well, when we start this, we start out in the exhibit. We talk a little bit about the Hell Creek Formation, geologic time period. There's some marine fossils there. We in the area we find ammonites and bacillites. They're a shell fossil, and you can actually find those around here on the Missouri River if you go they're cool, we really like those, so we have some of our collection there.
No, I'll see, we can see.
And then we get into some of the Packies, the Draco Rex, and then the cases in there have a lot of the bones in there. One of the interesting ones, I think, is there's a horn, a Triceratops horn, and if you look at it, the case wasn't quite big enough, so we have it at an angle like this, and the horn probably should have been about like this, but you can see the eye orbit in there, so take a look at that, that's kind of cool. And then the case next to it is is part of the horn itself, but it didn't have big enough cases and things like that. It had what is called an occipital condyle, which is, I call it the trailer hitch, and what it is, it hooks onto the back of the Triceratops skull, and it has a big sphere that comes off the back, and that hooks into the first 3 vertebrae in the neck of the Triceratops, and that's there too. So you got the occipital and the 3 fused neck vertebrae, and they think that the Triceratops head was so heavy with this big shield and the horns and the nose horn that's why these 3 first neck vertebrae were fused together. Or ours are, separate and things like that, but to hold that heavy head on there. So, and the first vertebra is concave. So guess what? It fits into that sphere on that occipital condyle, which is kind of cool, I think. So it locks into that, and a lot of animals have these occipital condyles. Yes.
Okay, so this question is really just for me, and it's something I've been thinking about while the individuals here. And why do you think, dinosaurs lived so long ago?
I've seen it.
And why do you think we should study them? It's so far removed from us. And I know I figured out my own answer, but I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I think they started studying dinosaurs, because it was so different from everything that was around today. But I mean, you can learn a lot about the environment, what the environment was like when the dinosaurs were here by these bones. You can learn about, what's interesting too is that the bones in the dinosaur are still the same bones that are in a deer today. I mean, they've got scapulas and they've got the same number of cervical or neck vertebrae. I don't know what else.
Well, you're all here, you come to these for history, and I think history's a great thing, and we try not to repeat ourselves too much with bad history. So
What I like the best is I like to learn how, from these bones you can learn a lot about how maybe the dinosaurs interacted with each other. Some of them were social, some of them were not. They're carnivores, and some are omnivores, and some are herbivores, and I think they were all just put here for all of us to learn about and enjoy.
And they were huge. I mean, they were huge.
A lot of them were.
The mammal population doesn't hold a candle to some of this stuff. But they had all sizes in the dinosaur.
Did all
world.
dinosaurs come from eggs?
Did what?
From eggs?
Eggs.
They think so. They do think so. It's maybe not, 100%. I mean, some reptiles give live birth. For instance, rattlesnakes don't lay eggs. They do live birth for their. What's interesting is they find a lot of eggs and eggshell fragments in like China and Mongolia, but they don't find much here. They did find a few years ago in Montana some depressions, a series of depressions, like a colony of like possibly nests from duck-billed dinosaurs, and there were some egg fragments in some of those. But other than that, they have not found much. I mean, they've not found a T-Rex egg or like a Triceratops egg, or so that question may still be out there a little bit.
Yes.
when you talk about Elk Creek, is that a river basin of, say, 4 counties in one state and 4 in another and 4 in another? Or
No, it's-
how do you get the name?
Well, it was from this river in southeastern Montana that, it was the Elk Creek, it wasn't even a river, it was a creek, that they found the first type of dinosaur bones that were associated with this geologic formation, 65 to about 70 million years ago. And they named it Elk Creek Formation. There's a similar one in Wyoming called the Lance Creek Formation that has some T-Rex and things like that. But other ones, you know, if you go back into the Jurassic time, which is way back in the 145 million year old area, there's the Morrison Formation in Colorado and Wyoming. So it's basically just a name off of that location, more so than
If
anything.
we go through, when we go through the exhibit, the first part of the exhibit, there's a great illustration and some information like on that. They're basically these geologic formations that they name. It's like when we talk to the kids at the schools, I kind of describe it as like layers in a cake. When you cut a cake and you see the layers with frosting in between, all those different layers are sediment that have been built up over time, and as something changed, the layer would change, and so you've got a new now layer on top of like Elk Creek, and you got, you know, Lance Creek, and there's lots of different names to those layers.
We were last Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It was supposed to be 75 out there. It was 90 each day, and you're always constantly looking out for rattlesnakes. So it's kind of like hell. So sometimes, so you know, and it's kind of desolate in places, especially in these Badlands areas. It's like hardly anything grows there. It's a past flower or something.
Do one more question and then let's head to
Okay.
the
Yes.
Buck, there's a new Jurassic Park movie coming out, I think it's 7 or 8.
Okay.
And every time one comes out, you tell me the same thing. And that is that these dinosaurs in the movie could not possibly coexist. Can you explain that a little bit, please?
Well, they have Jurassic dinosaurs, which are way back. They have Elk Creek dinosaurs. They all, and some are in Morocco, and some of them are in Utah or South Dakota or whatever. And they mix them all together because that's what the guy who's making the DNA on them is just blending them all together.
In the movie.
And so, yeah, those Jurassic dinosaurs would have been long dead by the time T-Rex came around.
So my whole family, for years now with the Jurassic Park movies, they're like, we hate watching the movie with you. You criticize the dinosaurs and you say, well, that couldn't be that. And so anyway, I ruined the movies apparently. So now there's a new one coming out, and my voice told me the other day, hey, we need to go see that this summer. And it's scary. It's going to be scary. So.
Let's head back and you can talk to folks in the exhibition, and if people need to leave, go ahead, but if you want to stick around and look at the exhibit together.
Kind of heavy.
Yeah.
I'll grab it. Thank you.
Show us the size, Teresa.
I texted that it was like, I think you'd already set up your phone.
I thought I'd at least start.
See how that's thing when you head back there. That was good. It was good seeing you. Good turnout. Yeah.
I'll talk to you soon.
Keep moving.
Is that about everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, so, this, the exhibit obviously starts in here, so this is kind of what I was talking about, a little bit, like what is Hell Creek? So we won't bore everybody with reading through every little bit of this while we're running through here, but if you know, come back in, at another time, there's a lot of really good information on there, and it talks about that little map up there. Shows South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming, and that light green area is, that's Hell Creek, where Hell Creek is exposed. And so where we're hunting at is up in that northwest part of South Dakota, mainly up there. We have been in Montana and Wyoming too, but mainly that South Dakota area. We find a lot of other fossils too. There's some plants in here, something cool in there. I like those pine cones. Those are fossilized sequoia pine cones. There's some leaf imprints in there. That's a piece of fossilized wood. That piece of wood?
I feel like a piece of man.
Oh, that piece of wood probably weighs, what, 7-8 pounds probably? It's way, a lot heavier than a regular piece of wood, And then trace fossils. This is a cast of a dinosaur track, a theropod. The meat eaters were called theropods. They were bipedal. They walked on 2 legs. And that's a cast of a meat eater track. And this is a piece of fossilized wood too, but it's in this trace fossil case because it's got like wormhole, bore holes in it. Yeah.
This was found around here. This is that scary fish there, Zephynctinus. He or she was about 10 to 15 feet long and huge, and like a tarpon is what they. And that's the eye, and that's some of the teeth, and that's all that's there, but it's rock, fossilized rock, and it should kind of be tilted this way, but you can see the eye and he just had a nasty set of teeth.
I like the fish, so I kind of wish they were still around.
This one here is another broken tooth. You can kind of see it hanging down, but it is monster. It's about that big around, and it didn't come with it. But it's a crocodile, and this was just from around here. But these are all Hell Creek. This turtle is really cool. We find chunks of turtle shells all the time. I mean, we found some. We kind of just leave them because you can only pick up so many of them. This one actually was a complete turtle that I found probably 7-8 years ago, and it's
the only complete turtle that we've ever found in like 30 years of looking.
Bottom of it, and if you come around the bottom, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, they just don't wake up.
So it's it was a nice find.
River run like the devil.
Crocodile, some crocodile and alligator jaws with some teeth in it. This is a little piece of a jaw from it was a crocodile type animal called a Champsosaurus. Kind of looks like this. And that's the snout. There's no teeth in it, but you can see the sockets.
So what's kind of cool, the crocs and the alligators and some turtles made it through all of the asteroid and other things that caused extinction of the dinosaurs.
And they were up
We
in
don't know
the
why, but
Hell Creek area.
yeah, this is all Hell Creek stuff here. So croc teeth there and here and crocodile vertebra.
Talking about the ammonites a little bit.
Alligator tooth. So.
Alligator and crocodile teeth are different. You can see that the alligator tooth is stubbier, not quite as elongated and sharp.
These are the marine, I was talking about ammonites and bacillus.
Can you kids see?
Or the long fossil here. And then there's a new type of gemstone called amylite now. And it's this pearly opalizing. And so if they take it, an ammonite, and they'll cut a chunk out and make it into a ring or whatever. So any type of this, you can see a little bit on there, and you can see some of the coloration. some of them are just amazing with their colors, their greens and purples and everything. And that's what they're looking for. And the jewelers are now.
They call it chasing form of it.
So what this part of the exhibit shows, it kind of goes through the steps of where we're at, tools we use, what we're looking for, digging up the bone, putting the plaster on it, getting it in a jacket, and then the video shows that. But this is kind of what it looks like out there where we're at. Where Brian talked about earlier, where you got the grassland up here, the plateau, and then it drops down into some of this exposed Hell Creek Formation, and that's where you're finding the bones. That's where we're looking for little pieces of bone like this. Now this picture is really close up. This little piece of bone was probably the size of the end of my thumb. So it was a small piece. That's a bone that's coming out. That's a rib that cracking out. Once they get exposed, they don't last very long. They get wet. Freeze thaw, expansion and contraction of the water freezes and going out and breaking up.
This is a complete leg of a Struthiomimus. They were an ostrich-like dinosaur. Didn't have any teeth, but had claws on their toes. And they had three on each hand. So, and they had beaks. They thought they were egg eaters or small mammal eaters, or maybe some plants. But they were the fastest things. Yeah, it's a cool leg.
The leg is that's all real fossilized bone too, and very, very rare. I would say most museums probably don't have a leg like that. They would have a composite like casted pieces that aren't real bone made from other bones. So that's very, very rare thing to have.
And those are some vertebra from the tail, one of its tails. So you can see him up there. He was very fast. An interesting thing that I didn't know until I got into it, but the tibia here is longer than the femur, and they say that that's a sign that they're very fast. If your tibia is in animals is large. Yes.
How tall are you?
6 foot.
So that's about as tall.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Close, so.
The other thing too about the theropod or the meat eater dinosaurs is the bones are hollow. So if you look at this little bone in here, that's a section of a Struthiomimus bone that we found that you can see it's hollow like a straw. And so you might say, well, why are the bones hollow? Well, you're lighter, you're faster, chase something down to eat. Theropod dinosaurs are also distantly related to birds, actually, and birds all have hollow bones.
Come on in here. This is our packing stuff, and there's a.
That's the pre-custom
There's a
dinosaur
great
that I
go
got.
up there. So here's Draco, and this is a Stygimauer and a Pachy. This is actually a real chunk of those domes that you see here in the Pachy. So there's a piece of a dome, and some of the osteoderms or the knobs on there.
There's a little bit of a controversy with these dinosaurs right now that some paleontologists think that the Draco is the juvenile, the Stygi is the subadult, and the Pachy is the adult. We don't agree with that, though. There was a lot of paleontologists looked at this skull when Brian found it, and it got cleaned up. That looked at the fused bones, and they don't agree that it's a juvenile dinosaur at all. So, and they have since found this dinosaur in an earlier formation than these other two. So it doesn't make sense that you'd find the subadult in an earlier formation than the adults.
And they found a packing, the one on the far left, they found it in a small version now, so. Anyway, we'll see if they come up with it. There's some packing vertebrae there and flip claws. Draco's come out in about 4 toys too, so this is the toys in there.
We're always looking for the toys.
Darren.
Can you guys hear back there?
Let's have people kind of slide on the other side of you so that you can get out into the gallery.
A lot of these Dinosaurs, these are they call them osteoderms or plates. They're these plates you see on the Ankylosaurus. This is from one dinosaur, so it's kind of cool. All these rock plates that were on the
Those are all from the same dinosaur.
There's a few more over here and part of a rib one, and then some teeth down here, some kind of teeth, and that's what the head of one of those would look like. This is Triceratops over here. This is that frill, that piece of the shield. You look at it, you can see some of the blood vessel veins that go through it. That would be a left, we call it squash nose, so it would be a left one, that's a right one there. And then here's the horn, and a nose horn. And then
this is the eye orbit that Brian talked about over here on this side. So if you like look at the little toy, you can kind of see where the eye's located on the toy, and you can kind of picture how that eye, the eye would be in that eye socket.
and then that's the occipital condyle and another. That actually hooks right into the back of his horn. You can see the spear-like, you take a look at that down
You
there.
can see how the illustration too shows the occipital condyle here on the back of the skull.
And that fits right into those, these are the 3 cervical or neck vertebrae. You can see how it's concave and fits right in there. Locks in, so I call it the trailer hitch. So that's kind of what it does. With this, Yep. Yeah, all the frequency. Definitely. Yeah, it would have been, a T-Rex gets stabbed by one of those. If they took out one of T-Rex's legs, number one, their hands were so small. There's all kinds of jokes out there about what T-Rex can't do now because he has these little hands like this and he can get huge legs. If he fell over, he would have a hard time getting back up.
Or especially if it's injured, I mean, chickens can get back up and ostriches, but if one of your legs is injured, you're gonna have big problems.
Somebody did a study once though and said these little arms, they're about the size of ours. With these little arms, they had 2 fingers on them with these big nasty claws on them. They figured they could lift about 600 pounds of meat. So even though they were tiny, they were strong.
This is Triceratops jaws, and there's a part of a beak on there. Triceratops have a beak, kind of like birds. They could shear off the plant material.
Darren found this, it's really cool because you got all those real teeth sitting in there. Here's some teeth over here. They had a lot of teeth, they just went up in rows, and when you bust one off, another would kind of come up like a shark.
Yeah, maybe show us one more thing.
Okay, well, we got the copy of the T-Rex skull. There's some T-Rex material in the showcases over along that wall around the corner here.
This is a complete leg of the foot, tibia, the femur.
Anyway, we'll be, if you guys mingle around a little bit more, I can stay, can you stay for a little bit more, or you gotta get going, or I can stay for a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit, probably
Yeah.
another 15 minutes.
I can stay for a little bit longer, answer some last straight questions, so.
Sounds good, thank you.